In fact, we've given up from the high point of the day. We're currently at the low point of the day for all the frontline indices. The Nifty Bank lower by about 175 points. The Nifty itself very close to that 10,500 mark. Closer to the 10,500 mark now than it was in the earlier part of the day. What is causing this sort of worry? It is oil, which is past the $71 per barrel mark now, and this is a $2.5 recovery from the lows that we saw earlier in the previous week. And at the same time, we have the rupee, which has weakened a fair amount as well. But a couple of stocks, they're doing fairly well, and on the back of good results, we have Titan, which is up about 5.5%. The street ignoring the fact that, you know, there was a couple of one-offs in the EBITDA, looking forward to good demand. And then we have Wockhardt as well. The EBITDA margin tripled, and that stock is up around 10% as we speak. Infibeam is another of those volatile stocks, was lower for majority of today's trading session and is now up 16% from lows back into the green. And this stock, remember, from the start of this month is up about 84%.
Hi Mangalam, good afternoon to you as well. So first up, let's take you through all that's happening in the market. The market trades the day's low dragged down by the HDFC Twins, Reliance and ICICI Bank. Higher crude prices and a weaker rupee weigh on sentiment. Mid-cap index underperforms.
Brent crude inches past the $71 per barrel mark as Saudi Arabia announces a production cut. Uptick in crude puts rupee under pressure. The currency slides close to 73 against the dollar.
Earnings recovery continues to look dreary. CLSA joins other brokerages in cutting Nifty EPS estimates, brings down the FY19 forecast to 10.5% growth, sees a 26% rise in the FY20 EPS.
Titan rises as the street shrugs off operational performance woes which were impacted by a couple of one-offs. Wockhardt surges as the overall performance improves in the second quarter, led by growth in the US and emerging markets.
And the Central Vigilance Commission submits its report on the probe into allegations against CBI Director Alok Verma to the Supreme Court. Hearing scheduled for the 16th of November.
All right, so this is the show where we answer all your stock-related queries. Joining us today, we have Gaurang Shah and Prakash Gaba with us to answer all your investment and trading-related queries. First up, we have an SMS coming in from Miss Saili Khanvilkar, who writes to us from Hyderabad, holds about 100 shares of Aurobindo Pharma at 605 rupees for the last 6 months. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Gaurang, your view on Auro Pharma and the pharma space as a whole?
Good afternoon to all of you all, Mangalam. Well, I think these are beginning of good times for the pharma sector. 1.5 year, 2 years back, it was one of the laggards along with IT. But stock-specific pharma companies in the Indian pharma universe look extremely attractive. And if you are in, I would advise the investor that if you can stay invested despite the fact that you're making a decent return, if you hold on for a little bit of more longer time, I think there are better days and better valuations to be seen at higher levels. So hold on for long term.
All right, Auro Pharma also expecting to report numbers today. Prakash, what's your advice?
I think Auro Pharma is looking good. Formed a good base, can continue going up higher. The next technical targets, I would say, in the vicinity of 1,000 or so. May take its own sweet time. Her cost is low. Why worry? Just hold on.
All right, there's some news flow coming through. Government sources indicate to CNBC TV 18 that the government is seeking to continue the IL&FS moratorium at the NCLAT tomorrow, and they would be pleading for granting this moratorium for a period of 3 months. Timsi Jaipuria, our correspondent who's filing this story, now joins in with the very latest. Hi Timsi, what more can you fill us in on?
As you rightly mentioned, the government is going to continue with its plea, which they had mentioned in the NCLT Mumbai last month, that they should be granted a moratorium of 3 months in the case of IL&FS. Government is likely to seek an extension of this granting of moratorium. Let's see what NCLAT does, but government is pretty sure that an orderly resolution can take place only if this moratorium is granted. Also, the prospect of resolution may get diluted if payment is made now, is what government feels, and government wants banks and other institutions also to have faith in the resolution process that government is taking forward in the case of IL&FS, and they feel that even banks should try and be calm when since now there is a sovereign backing with IL&FS, and they should be assured that yes, whatever exposure they have is now in the safe hands. However, a clear-cut direction on resolution would only help in trying to discharge the loans, etc., which IL&FS has, the exposure. But yes, government feels that banks should continue to have faith on the orderly and the transparent resolution framework that government is now looking forward for IL&FS. And let's see what happens tomorrow at NCLAT, because last time when NCLAT heard this matter against NCLT Mumbai, which was moved by the government, they said staying the order until further orders, which means de facto the moratorium is continuing. And tomorrow is the hearing. Let's see whether NCLAT gives a clear-cut direction towards moratorium, or they continue with their stand that the orders of NCLT will be deferred till further orders. Let's see what happens tomorrow.
Right, MC, thanks a lot for that. Trust you to fill us in on all the happenings at the NCLAT. Tomorrow, the government batting for a moratorium. For us in the markets, though, nothing batting for the bulls. In fact, ITC is right now batting for the bears. At the low point of the day, that index heavyweight currently taking the Nifty lower by 75 points. So ITC is lower by about 1.5%. We have seen a sharp knock on Z Entertainment as well. Z Entertainment from the Nifty space, along with Bajaj Auto at the low point of the day. But we have a lot of queries coming in. Miss Mohini Solanki writes to us from Mumbai, holds about 700 shares of NMDC at 128 rupees a piece. A long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. From the long-term perspective, Prakash, what does the chart of NMDC suggest?
Well, long-term suggests that we could see some support in the vicinity of 100, but so far it still looks weak. So it's hope trade. Confirmation will come once it starts to trade above 120. From then, if it crosses 120, then we can see 145 zones also. So far, it is down. We may see 100 zones. I wouldn't worry about it. Continue to hold it, because it looks like 95, 98, 100 zones is a strong support zone to work with.
All right, Gaurang, your take on NMDC?
So, Sumira, I would concur with Prakash's view. In fact, if you do get those levels of 100 or just below that, I think that's going to be a perfect place to average. And we do have a hold on NMDC from a long-term point of view. So, hope for a bad day, and if you get a dip below 100, have the ability to average at least 50% or thereabouts to bring down your cost of acquisition.
All right, up next, we have a query coming in from Mr. Basar Viraj T, who writes to us from Mumbai. He has 600 shares in Coal India, which he bought at about 295 odd rupees. He's been holding on for over 2 years. He's a long-term investor and wants to know what he should do at this price. So he's making a bit of a loss, Gaurang, but numbers are expected today, and on a low base, they're expected to look good. Plus, the overhang of the OFS is now behind the company. What would you advise our viewer to do?
So again, Sumira, these are the kind of stocks, mining and exploration related. These are the kind of stocks where you should have at least 2.5, 3 or 4 year plus kind of time horizon, because gestation period is longer for the activities that they are involved into. And I'm quite hopeful, Sumira, yes, with the low base effect, I think the numbers that they come out today should definitely look good. So if you have a 2.5, 3 year plus time horizon, hold on to it. You can even add if you get a bad day. We have a positive view on Coal India for long term.
All right, positive view on Coal India from the long term. But we have Karthik Dattani writing to us from Mangalore, holds 30 shares of Yes Bank at 303 rupees for a month. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Before I come to you, Prakash, I'd like Gaurang's view on Yes Bank. He bought it a month ago when, we saw a bit of a decline on that stock. He thought it would be a good place to accumulate from a long-term perspective, but ever since he's bought it at 300, it's now gone to around 222. From the long-term standpoint, what do you suggest Yes Bank, whether he should stay invested or not?
So first, stay invested. Second, like Karthik, there are a lot of retail investors who would have possibly bought it as a bargain argument, Mangalam. I hope you'll agree with me. And then, of course, we saw the news flows and, of course, the numbers and a little bit of concern. But long term, we are extremely positive, and he got in about 300 plus. Stock is trading in, I think, about 220, 225 or thereabouts. Good place to average, and I'm sure in terms of management, there will be a lot of stability that we'll see in the coming future. And in terms of earnings, a good improvement which will elevate the share prices. So stay invested and average at lower levels.
All right, stay invested. That's the long-term view coming in. Prakash, charts-wise, what does Yes Bank suggest? Because from 400, it went to about, 165 thereabouts. And from there, it's seen a quick bounce of about 50 rupees.
175. So it looks like, I don't think that's going to break. If that's not going to break, why not just hold? You want to add? Of course add. I think it can go up back to around 300 zones. So that this loss-making trade could turn out to a profitable trade, provided you add here and hold in for a long time. Since you held for a month, continue holding it if you don't require the money and add it.
Okay.
I would.
So Gaurang and Prakash also finding diamonds in the stock market is at the low point of the day now. So 60 points down on the Nifty. The Sensex has lost over 200 points now. So about 0.6% lower. The mid-cap index continues its underperformance as we speak, and that index has extended its cut now to about 1%. A lot of these crude casualties actually, weighing on the market. So the OMC is not doing well. In fact, from the top, HPCL has lost now about 5.5–6%. It's down as much. IOC is down 3.5%. A lot of these pain stocks as well are continuing to feel the pain. And some of the big drags this hour include ITC, which seems to be seeing some incremental weakness. But one stock actually from the broader markets which seems to be standing out is Cummins. So in an otherwise weak market, the stock is up about 3.5%. We spoke with the management as well earlier this morning, and the management commentary actually seems very, very bullish. They say that they're seeing a broad-based recovery in the domestic segment, industrials as well as showing strong growth. So Cummins and the management commentary there are doing well. But let's get back to answering some more queries. Our two experts, Gaurang and Prakash, are with us. Our next query is coming in from Mr. JP Gupta. He's written to us from New Delhi. So he says he wants to buy 150 shares in Britannia for the long term and wants to know what's the right time to enter the market. So Gaurang, I'm going to let Mangalam actually ask you this question. For now, I'm going to toss this to Prakash. Prakash, does Britannia on the charts at least look good for a buy call at the moment?
The basic structure of Britannia is positive. On the higher term time frame basis, it's seen a good low also. And the low that we have seen somewhere closer to around 5,200 or 300 zones, it's a damn good low to work with. I don't think that's going to break. So if you get it between here and this trading 5,700, buy it and hold for long term. That's the place I would buy. I would expect some kind of a dip. The best place to buy would be 5,400. Will I get it? I don't know.
All right, the best place to buy will be 5,400. Will you get it or not is something that we'll come to know once the company reports its results. The street is working with a good set, 8 to 10% volume growth, and margins are likely to expand by 50 basis points as well, and a net profit growth of 15%. So, Gaurang, from the long-term perspective, what would you suggest? Is this a good time, or perhaps post the result uncertainty is out of the way and go ahead? Because if you're talking about long-term, in the last 100 years, Britannia has expanded capital by about 16–17% CAGR for 100 years. What would you say?
As a consistent performer, I think the track record speaks for itself, Mangalam. And despite the fact that over the last 1 year you have had tremendous amount of competition from the likes of Patanjali and other players, companies like Britannia, Nestle, HUL, ITC, Dabur, Marico, they continue to perform and deliver and raise the bar every quarter after quarter. So you want to buy 150 shares. I know the numbers come out today. I don't think there's going to be any disappointment. In fact, I'm quite excited about the detailed commentary as far as their biscuits and dairy product business is concerned. I see some amount of detail, business strategy unfolding over there. So you want to buy 150 shares, break it into 25 lots each, and all dips start buying from today. And on dips, you go on adding.
All right, go on adding along with, as and when you get dips on Britannia from a long-term perspective. With that, we have a caller. I believe Vijay Bansal is calling us from New Delhi. Vijay, go ahead. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So I have Godrej Agrovet shares. I have 100 shares at 585. So I'm a long-term investor. I've just bought this for 6 months before. And I want to add more shares, and I can hold it for 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years. So I just wanted an opinion from the experts on this.
All right. So Gaurang, he's got the group right, Godrej Agrovet, from a 5 to 6 year perspective. What would you suggest?
I think, first of all, a great time horizon. My only request to Mr. Bansal is that review your investments periodically as the earnings unfold, because that gives you the confidence that the company is a good growth trajectory. Of course, undeniable, a great pedigree and a great company, diversified products, large part of their activity concentrated in the agri sector as well. We had a subscribe for the IPO. And that IPO subscribe was advised with a long-term point of view. So Mr. Bansal can hold on, and on dips, whenever you get sizable corrections, 4–5% from your early acquisition price, go on adding systematically over a period of time.
All right. Up next, we have Deven Shah, who's written to us from Ahmedabad. He has 100 shares in Jet Airways, which he has bought at levels close to 640. He's a short-term investor and wants to know what he should do. So, Prakash, Jet Airways, somebody who's making a bit of a loss. We also have numbers today, and there's this whole crude and rupee angle that's playing out for Jet. Technically, though, what would you advise our viewer?
I wouldn't want to be in this Jet Airways. I want to be in the, of course, in the sector, but not in Jet. So if I get a bounce here, I'll exit. I don't want to be here because I don't know. They're not paying salaries. I don't know whether the flight will take off next time if I'm flying. So I don't know. Best is to stay out.
So not an investor and not a flyer.
No.
All right. I think the next question will be more relevant to him. Mayank Bhatia writes to us from Saudi Arabia, wants to buy 25 shares of Eicher Motors from a long-term perspective, wants to know what is the right time to buy that. So you're not a flyer. Are you a rider?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I'm a flyer myself. I'm a pilot.
Oh, okay.
But not as a passenger.
So are you the one who's talking about not getting a salary from Jet?
No, I'm not a pilot.
Just putting your leg. But Eicher Motors, what would your recommendation be?
I think it's a good company, basic structure, positive, seen a correction and seen stretched on the downside. I wouldn't worry about buy, add and do an SIPF and continue holding it. I'm seeing a level up from 27,000 to 30,000 in the days to come, years to come. I don't know. But yes, it's good buy. I don't worry. If you want to buy now.
Gaurang, what's your take on Eicher Motors and, especially the Royal Enfield sales? There we've seen a bit of a slowdown. You expect the stock actually, to be still a good buy?
So, Subir, I love to fly, I like to ride, and I love to drive. All three into one.
Good. We can do with that information.
And if I wanted to invest in aviation, Interglobe Aviation would be the one. If I am a rider, and which I am a fanatic of motorcycles, so yes, Royal Enfield motorcycles, Eicher Motors is definitely a buy. I know the numbers may look a little bit disappointing, but the kind of launches that they have laid out for the next couple of quarters to come, I'm quite excited about it, and they're going to regain the market share, whatever they have lost. Of course, they are launching the 650 motorcycle, Continental and Interceptor are the two models that they're launching. And in terms of long-term investment, I think it's definitely a good investment. Even the commercial vehicle business for Eicher is doing well, along with their JV with Volvo is doing quite well. So long-term, it's investable candidate.
Okay, so we know that in the coming months, at least Gaurang will be contributing to the RE sales.
Definitely.
And because he loves to fly, ride as well as drive, I'll be looking at, what volumes all these oil marketing companies do, because whatever you do, you have to tank up on that fuel irrespective of the crude prices.